Eccoci qua, è arrivato Ahron. Oh dear, how are you?
I'm very well. Dramatic times, interesting times, exciting times.
You damn political scientists, you find exciting these times. I find them horrible. Hey, are you growing a mustache?
When I'm just back from a trip, my bag is there. I have to unpack. I went to Prague. I
Very good.
went.
I'm glad to see we have similar habits. I also do become, but you much more. You keep it better than me. When I look at my hair, when I
We are just about to start teaching, so I think that I'll shave myself to.
no, it's okay. It gives you a more detached. It's
I,
very interesting. I've never seen you with that.
I trust the Italians when it comes to this. Yeah.
Let's see our viewers say. They are also Italian. They're young, mostly, certainly younger than me, probably younger than you too. And
Yeah.
so we may look. My partner Alberto seem to have is also traveling. He might be a bit late, but let's start because I know you're busy. So I read your tweet, technical analysis. I tend to agree. You actually seem to be more informed than me about the recent explosions. So please, maybe start from there. Then I will ask you a political question. But let's look at what's going on. It seems clear Israel wants to pull Hezbollah in a all-out confrontation. Is that your view?
It's not clear. I should know. I should know. You would
Yeah,
expect
you
these.
should know. That's why I called you. I mean, if there's anybody
Well,
on the planet that knows, it's Aaron.
well, the Israelis surprised me as much as they surprised Hezbollah, I think, because what you would expect is for them to use this device. They exploded so many little vipers, pages in Lebanon, injured so many Hezbollah activists, and they also disrupted their ability to communicate with each other. So, what you'd expect now is for the Israelis to go to war. This was an amazing tactical achievement. But
Oh,
what
technically, this was beautiful, but let me warn you.
it's
I
an amazing,
label this. I label
yeah,
this as state terrorism.
it's a James Bond style operation. It's beautiful, but
But
what is the aim? Why are they doing it? Is it only to impress me? If it's just to impress me that they are wasting a very important device, but if there is a strategic thought behind it, if they see it as a first stage on the road to war, if they want to use it to humiliate and push Hezbollah so there will be war, it makes sense. But is it what they want?
wait, because the war analyst, the objective war analyst here is getting carried away. It makes sense. Last time I saw you, you thought that starting out another war in Lebanon with Hezbollah would be insane. What do you mean it makes sense? It makes sense in the sense that there is a logic in what's going on.
Look, there are two schools of thought in Israel at the moment. One school of thought, and I'm talking Lebanon now, not Gaza.
Yeah.
One school of thought about Lebanon says we should go to war now. Why now? Because um, we are ready, all our forces are mobilized. There are very few people, civilians, on the Israeli side of the border and the Lebanese side of the border, and you can do war. And very importantly, winter is around the corner. It is very difficult to fight in the winter, and therefore that's the right time to go to war. The other school of thought says not a good idea because the IDF, the troops, are exhausted after 11, 12 months of war in Gaza. The equipment is not in a good shape. The Americans are very strongly against it, and therefore it's not a good idea to go to war now, and we should let diplomacy, having the chance to deliver the goods. These are the two schools of thought. And now comes the Israeli operation yesterday and today. A tactical operation. It could lead to war. And I don't know to say whether the Israelis actually want to go to war now, whether the school of thought, believing that this is a time for war, is leading the way now. It is not clear to me, and we will have to wait a couple of days. Much is also dependent on the reaction of Hezbollah. What are they going to do? So more questions than answers.
All right, Professor, but you know perfectly that if you organize something like this, first of all, what's the timing of this James Bond operation that took place yesterday? I mean, it must have taken what? This must have been decided, because that's the other thing. Things are happening now, but the scenario and the situation in which they got planned, right, was another one. So when are we dating back this thing? What's the date of this thing?
It probably took the Israelis years to do it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because and therefore, if it is just to impress us, this was a waste of an important device. Because you see,
Ahron, you're not only Israeli, you're also a man of the world, a war expert, and you talk to your boys. You know perfectly that nothing has ever been done by Mossad or EDF just to impress you or me or anybody.
You see, it might be. Let me just say something about such operations. You know, in order to do something like that, let's say the Mossad, they have to establish a shop, and which will sell these devices to someone, to Hezbollah, with the little bombs in it, or they have to penetrate another shop in order to get the devices. It's very, very complicated. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it takes years to plan it. Now, it might be that Hezbollah just got too close to it, and they were just about to discover what they got, that their machines are in fact hand grenades, and the Israelis decided to press the button. I'm not entirely sure, and this is the bottom line. I'm not entirely sure.
So you think this was a covert operation that was supposed to stay silent, and they decide to detonate now, maybe because some Hezbollah was figuring out what had happened. What I'm thinking, let me articulate a little bit. So I also thought this is an operation. You don't do it in 2 months. You don't do it in 3 months. You have to create a network, and you have to penetrate the Taiwanese. If I understand, they're Taiwanese, right?
Well, there was another company in the Czech Republic, and I'm just back from the Czech Republic. I was not involved. I was not involved. I just went.
You looking at your bag? You looking at your bag?
I just went to see Prague, etc. So I came back, and all of a sudden I hear that everything was cooked in was made in the Czech.
I want to make you focus on the political side, on the impact of this, because too many people seem to be taken. Maybe I don't have a particular passion. I never liked James Bond. I have to sadly admit, and I don't like Star Wars. So it seems a lot of people are taken. Here is my friend Alberto.
Hi.
Hi, Alberto.
Nice to
Ciao,
meet you.
Alberto. Ciao, hello.
Ciao.
So people seem to be all impressed by the technical difficulties on this, seem to be missing the political implication. If this was a weapon stored, as we seem to agree, maybe a year, maybe two ago, a plan started way before October 7, way before whatever. It signals what? It signals a long-term plan to do what? So in particular, you wrote. I mean, I learned of you by reading your first book on the Lebanese war of 82, which you
Yeah.
participated, and I learned a lot from that. Your theory, if I understand correctly, and I think facts prove you right, is that you don't invade Lebanon. There is no way to solve the Hezbollah problem that way. And moreover, you created the Hezbollah problem. I mean, you taught me that. Actually, you taught me that. Then I checked with other, but I learned it first on your stuff. So what are they going after?
Well, two things. First of all, about this is. I'm going back now. This is not the first time that the Israelis use this device. You see, that is planting a little bomb in a telephone or such a device and killing someone. Back in 1996, I think it was January the 5th, I may be wrong, the Israelis assassinated a leading Hamas member. They did exactly what happened in Lebanon yesterday and today. They put a little bomb in a telephone of the engineer. This was the nickname of this Hamas activist. And they phoned him. When he answered the phone, the Israelis pressed the button and he lost his head. So it was done in 1996. But what is so impressive about the current operation is that it is widespread. We are talking about 3,000, 4,000 machines that, exploded and injured and killed some people. And what's happening today while we are talking, there are explosions in Lebanon of devices which are bigger. And they are
Right.
already...
I saw your tweet, and then I went to check the news. There are other explosions, but these are also pre-planted. So these are
everything is... Yeah, of course.
It takes
But you prepare such things in advance. If you are a Mossad agent or the Mossad agency, you travel to the Czech Republic, you rent a shop, and you start selling devices, beepers, and then your marketing department will approach an Iranian or Hezbollah member, and they will say,
so you want our little tools? We're very good.
Yeah, do you want it? And then you sell them a few, and they like it, and then you sell them a little bit more, and the third batch is hand grenades, which are little devices with bombs. To go back, so everyone is, very enthusiastic about it. It's really, going to become a film in Hollywood, but the reality is very serious. It could lead to a terrible war between Israel and Hezbollah. And I'm not sure that this is what Israel wants. I'm not sure that the tactical achievements are meant to be the road leading to war that the Israelis wants to have. It might be that future historians looking back will say that this was a reckless operation because it led to war that Israel didn't want to have. So there is so much uncertainty. But the tensions are such at the moment that I'm looking at my phone and I keep it away from me so it will not explode in my face. You never know with these machines now. I keep an eye to see the news, whether there is war there, because any miscalculation on either side could now lead to a terrible war between Israel and Lebanon.
Let me do one thing and translate a bit what you said, because I think some of our listener, either because they don't want to hear what you say, or maybe more kind hypothesis, they have troubles with English. seem not to understand the point. Ahron is correctly pointing out something that anybody that understands how procurement procedures are done and how the military operates, or any military organization operates. That this is not that Israel intercepted the cargoes, opened up the boxes magically in high sea, planted the little devices with bombs, then sealed back everything, put the wrap up and pretend. No. What Ahron is suggesting that this is an operation that started years ago, probably by creating a system or probably a company that produces this device. And scusate, l'ho detto in inglese. Sorry, I have to say it in Italian. I just went along the rest. Yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Allora, lo dico in italiano, scusate. Allora, quello che Ahron sta suggerendo è la stessa cosa che ho pensato io. Questo è un piano iniziato anni fa, o perlomeno un anno e mezzo, 2 anni fa, in cui i servizi segreti israeliani hanno costruito letteralmente delle aziende, dei canali commerciali che producono queste cose. Sono riusciti a occultare completamente, ovviamente, la loro origine, sono riusciti a attirare la fiducia sia iraniana che Hezbollah, perché è Iran ovviamente che finanzia e controlla, e hanno infilato l'affare. Quindi questo non ha a che fare con 7 ottobre né con le tendenze recenti, e quindi si chiede a Ahron dove diavolo vanno, perché se l'esercizio era semplicemente di umiliarli è fuori luogo. È probabile che la decisione di scatenarlo adesso sia dovuta al fatto che in realtà questi di Hezbollah si stavano rendendo conto del rischio o del fatto che qualcosa non funzionava, e se questo è il senso, lui dice che questi vogliono fare la guerra e vogliono fare una guerra che dal suo punto di vista non ha alcun senso. All right, back to the thing. Alberto, did you want to ask something? We are trying to understand what's going on. We're trying to understand.
Ahron, let me ask, this little device, I mean, but people were probably carrying them in their pockets, right? So they explode in the pocket and they kill an individual?
Okay, let me explain here. You know, for me, it is so clear. What Hezbollah did recently was to distribute the beepers, which we used to use, you know, in the olden days, and they gave them to relatively senior members of Hezbollah. So if you are just a soldier, you don't get a beeper. And therefore, we are talking about the commanders and many of the family members. The idea was that they will use it to coordinate the firing of rockets at Israel. So the idea was that Nasrallah, the chief of staff, will send a message on the beeper to the commanders, open fire at Israel now. You stop, you start, to coordinate. This was the coordinating machine, sending messages through this. And what happened was the Israelis, the Mossad or another unit, which is 8200, sent a message to the beeper, and those who got it out of the pocket had it in their hands. They saw they lost fingers or eyes. Those who
the number of killed people seem to be relatively small, among them actually civilians, but and there is a large number of injured. On the other hand, the number given is 4,000. That's a lot of commanders.
Yeah,
that's a lot of commanders.
That's a big number. Most of them are injured because the amount of explosives you could put in the device is not huge. And therefore, today, while we are talking, it's the current news, we have at least 500, or there'll be more, injured people in Lebanon, and their injuries will be more severe because the machines that exploded today were bigger. So cars will explode in houses because the machines are bigger and there's more explosives in them. So probably the Israelis sent a message to the machine. It warmed up the battery and it ignited the explosives. It's an effectively hand grenades. So those who didn't hear the message and had it in the pocket had injured themselves in the in the lower part of the body. Those who took it out, like the Iranian ambassador, he lost an eye, or people lost fingers. And there is a psychological impact here. It's not just physical, because just imagine that if you are a Hezbollah member, you are afraid to reach to your little machine because it might explode in your face. So there's a big shock and confusion there. So that's the situation.
Ahron, where do you think, this is a curiosity, but to modify thousands of machines, you need some sort of an assembly line, because they have to dismantle they have to disassemble the machine, put the explosive inside.
No, io se ipotesi, Alberto, l'ipotesi di Ahron è che letteralmente li hanno fatti loro. L'azienda che li ha fatti è controllata dai servizi segreti israeliani. Go ahead, Ahron.
Okay.
I just said it in Italian.
Shall I? Well, you see, we don't have all the details yet. And with intelligence, the problem is that you only have part of the intelligence and you don't have everything. It seems very likely, because we are talking about 4,000 machines, even more, that the line of assembly was controlled by the Israelis. So they have it. So it might be that they had a shop and sold it to Hezbollah directly or indirectly. We don't know the details. What we do know is that it's a widespread operation. We are talking about many machines, and there are more coming today. But
the explosion today are the walkie-talkie that are probably part of the same operation.
Exactly. You see, Hezbollah, a few months ago, decided not to use telephones anymore, because if I have my telephone here, you can find my location. So they changed the machines to something else. The Israelis probably understood, we're lucky, it's not just being very good in intelligence, you should also be very lucky. It might be that the Israelis were very lucky in realizing, understanding, getting a message that Hezbollah is going to change the machines. And the Israelis decided, we will change your machines. And they found the way to change the machines. But look, the question is bigger than that. What's going to happen now? That's the big question. Very soon, only film producers will think about what happened, and they will think how I could turn it into a film now. The big question is strategic questions. Are we going to have a big war in Lebanon? That's a question. That's a question. And we will know it in the coming days.
So we have a very reluctant part of the audience. It's a very small part that keeps thinking that there was a traitor in Hezbollah that did the job. Come on, kids. Signori, vedo dei commenti che fanno ridere. Voi come pensate che un traditore possa alterare tranquillamente senza che nessuno accorga 4.000 pager e alcune centinaia di walkie-talkie mettendoci la bombetta dentro? Ma avete un'idea? Please, no, I'm just trying to make these people understand, some of the people, very few. We have about 2,000 people listening, and there are 5 or 6 insisting that this was just a very recent covert operation. Probably somebody in Hezbollah is a traitor and was paid by Israel and did the whole thing.
Yes.
All right.
Years of preparations. Years of preparations.
Let's go to strategic analysis. So
it is agreed that we are talking about months and years of preparation. This is not in the dispute.
Yeah, let's go to the strategic part that you were, you know better, right? So let me put. I said something last night. You probably have seen it. A title. I said this is a form of state terrorism, and high tech terrorism is not going to eliminate or resolve the low tech terrorism of Hezbollah. I mean, I don't want you to explain everybody again how Hezbollah got created by the 82 invasion and so on. People that want to learn about Hezbollah may read Ahron books and actually also the blog that is very interesting where he keeps writing about this. But so considering that background, what do you think? So do you agree with the assessment that this is only going to make Hezbollah worse and not better? And what would you do from a purely Israeli point of view? From a purely Israeli point of view, to handle Hezbollah?
Look, the Israelis are now, they learned the hard lesson in the last 11 months. They are much more, I'm listening to them, they are humble now. They are not saying, as they said about Hamas, they are not saying we are going to topple, to destroy Hezbollah. They are not saying it. They are not saying it. They understand that it is impossible. It is impossible to destroy Hamas, and it is impossible to destroy Hezbollah. And therefore, the Israeli aims are very limited. Number one, to stop Hezbollah's fire. Number two, to push Hezbollah from the border so it cannot attack the houses, Israeli houses, which are on the border. Now look, if the Israelis declare that they are going to stop the war in Gaza and that they agree to have a ceasefire, it's unlikely that there will be war in Lebanon. They can stop it. High probability that Nasrallah will stop firing at Israel. He said, I'm only firing at you because you are fighting in Gaza. Stop Gaza and I'll stop firing at you. So in theory, you can stop it. And the American envoy in the Middle East is now there trying to do exactly that, to put pressure on the Israelis. It's the nightmare of the Biden administration, that there will be war now before the November elections. They want at least to delay it. So back to my point, Israel can stop it. Just decide that they stop the war in Gaza. The problem, however, is that it's not anymore Hezbollah's fire at Israel. The problem is that they are sitting physically on the border with Israel, and they should go back. And even if the Israelis stop the fire in Gaza, it might stop the Hezbollah fire, but it will not push Hezbollah back. That's the problem. And therefore, there are people in Israel who are saying, war is inevitable. Let's do it now. We are mobilized. There are no civilians around the border. Let's do it before the winter. You know, in the winter in Lebanon, sometimes there is snow. It's like the Napoleon going to fight in the snow. So if the Israelis think that they should go to war, they should do it now. We are in war
now. Hezbollah must be very shocked and in disarray now after this attack. The time to attack Hezbollah is now.
Oh, of course, yes, but you see that it's taking us back to the James Bond operation. I'm surprised. Let me just see. I'm against the war. I think it's not a good idea. But I'm surprised that after the James Bond operation against the beepers, the Israeli tanks are not in Lebanon. You'd expect the Israelis to start with this.
To roll in.
Yeah, of
I would
course.
expect the Israeli to roll in now.
Of course. That's exactly the point that I was trying to make. And therefore, it might be that the Israelis don't want war. And therefore, why was this reckless idea of doing the James Bond operation, keep it for the future? So it's very confusing what's happening. But to go back to the point, to the main point, there is a school of thought in Israel saying, let's do it now. And I'm surprised, I'm happy that they don't go to war, but I'm surprised that the Israeli tanks are not in Lebanon after the tactical.
Me too.
Yeah, so what's going on? But there might be war if Nasrallah reacts strongly.
But Ahron, it might take some time to Hezbollah to react, because now they're headless. They've been hit badly, so they might not be ready to go to war now, because all the top line has been hit.
Well, you're right. We're talking about 4,000 important Hamas commanders.
Hezbollah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Hezbollah commanders were in hospital. That's true. But I think that they can react, they can work, they can do things. But they have to decide what to do. They have to ask themselves, and they have to ask Iran, do we want war? Do we want to land 300 rockets on Tel Aviv, which means war, or not? They have to decide what to do. It takes time, especially when everything is so confusing. So it's a very dangerous moment. And usually in the Middle East, you have this miscalculation, and then it leads to war. And it might be that what will decide the future of what's happening. Or maybe the Israelis decide, maybe, I don't know, maybe these tactical things that they're doing now, yesterday and today, is the road to war. Maybe the next one will be trying to assassinate Nasrallah, which is war. If you try to assassinate him, this is war. So there is so much. I know Lebanon so well, but even for me, it's hard to see what the Israelis are doing. Is it just tactical, or is it either something which is strategic there?
Yeah.
Tactical or strategic?
Let me give you my opinion. My opinion is that I'm the pessimist. I've been the pessimist for a long time, and I've been the pessimist since Sharon's times. I think the dominant force, because it has a force by itself, is the one of the all-out war. And I think it's actually correct for many to think. So, yes, one possibility about these explosions these days is the one you said, Ahron. Hezbollah or somebody was figuring out, news were leaking. I mean, the system of cover was falling apart, and they said, hell with it. Let's just do it. I mean, at least we take home something. We're trying to find news. It doesn't look like they've taken home a lot other than the psychological effect, because there is 12 people killed, of which some civilians are kids. And yes, there are 400 seriously injured. It's a huge number. I'm not sure it compensates for the cost. But there is clearly a line that thinks this is the moment out. We are out in war at Gaza. We've done what we have done. The world has complained, but let us do it. We have the nuclear bomb. Iranian don't. The Americans, at the end of the day, are still supporting us when the Iranians sends the more or less symbolic or effective drones. Well, I'll let you decide. But anyhow, they're here with the fleet. And U.S. is going into election, a very fought election. They have not there's no time to pay attention to us and to change policy. So whatever we do, they'll stick to the old policy of supporting us, and the military will. So this is the time to give it a try. Now, the try, unfortunately, has to do with wiping out a piece of southern Lebanon and then seeing if Iran falls into the trap. That's my theory. To tell, very frankly, that's my theory.
Look, I don't know. I really don't know. I think that it more likely that a miscalculation will lead to it. And what the Israelis will probably try to do, if you move forward a little bit now, what the Israelis probably try to do is to clear the area north of the border, and they might land forces on the Litani River, which runs inside Lebanon, and say to the forces, now move back in the direction of Israel and clear everything. But let me tell you what is the real danger. There are two dangers in this war if it happens. Number one, there will be hundreds of rockets landing on Israel every day, on electricity, in Lebanon too, on Israeli resources, on the airport, on electricity power, on water. So there'll be massive bombardment of Israel and Lebanon too. So we're talking about destruction on both sides. The second, if I may, the second danger, nobody think about it now, either the Israelis will get stuck in Lebanon. Now, in the first Lebanon War in 1982, in which I participated as a young artillery officer, the war was supposed to last between 48 and 72 hours. This was the idea. It was called Operation Peace for Galilee before it became the War of Lebanon. It was supposed to last no more than 72 hours. It lasted 18 years. It is easy to move in. It is very difficult to get out. And therefore,
it's like you never lived in the United States in the 80s. There was the Roach Motel. I have been using it frequently. You check in, but you don't check out. That's Lebanon. It was there were these boxes with entry. There was a very hard glue that attracted the roaches, and some smell attracted them, and you would put them in the old house. And in the morning.
Yeah.
So Lebanon is the Roach Motel of the Israeli Defense Force. That's your view.
Yeah. And by the way, yes, a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, the Israeli government added a new aim to the war, another objective, and the objective, officially declared, is to return the Israelis, and we are talking up to 100,000 people. It's a big number. The Israelis who were forced to leave their houses in the north and live in hotels, the aim is to return them safely home. If there's going to be war, it's not going to be the 6-day war. It's going to be a long war. And the return of these Israeli citizens who abandoned the villages will be delayed even further. So you're not going to achieve your aim. If you are the school of thought in Israel who say, let's go to war now because that's the right time, and if your aim is to enable the Israeli citizens who abandoned their houses in all the villages along the border with Lebanon in the last 11 months, if you want to return them, they will not return soon because the war will be very long. It's not going to be the 6-day war, 6 days. It's going to take weeks and months. War of attrition with Hezbollah.
Ahron, shouldn't we analyze the situation from the point of view of Netanyahu? Because
Well,
Netanyahu thrives in war.
that's a very interesting point. In fact, Netanyahu traditionally, people don't realize it, traditionally has been very cautious with the use of force. He was not someone like Ariel Sharon, the young Ariel Sharon, who would just go and fight and do wars, etc. This was not Netanyahu. He used to be very careful. But recently, he is more active than the others. He wants the war to continue. He needs the war to continue. He cannot allow the war to end in Gaza and in Lebanon, because if it ends, he will lose his coalition. Because
Exactly.
So from Netanyahu's point of view, war is good. He's not
Exactly.
happy about it. He's not happy about it. But politically, he needs the war to continue, because in his coalition, this is the most far-right coalition in Israel's history. It's crazy what they've got there. And his coalition partner said to him, look, if you stop the war, we are out. You don't have a coalition. You will not be prime minister. So this is one thing. Number two, he wants to be remembered in history, Netanyahu, after 7th of October, which happened on his watch in this time. He wants to be remembered in history as the one who, even after the terrible defeat of the 7th of October, fought and did not stop and went full Monty, as we say, all the way to fight. So he needs the war to continue. So it's in his interest to have it. This is from his point of view. He's dangerous, and the one who is stopping him is the defense minister. His name is Yoav Gallant.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu yesterday, I know this is very Israeli news. Yesterday, Netanyahu wanted to replace him. Yesterday, you are on the eve of war. So it was cancelled today. But Gallant blocks him a little bit. In fact, the Israeli Minister of Defense said he was in favor of attacking Lebanon on the 8th of October last year, but now he says, no, not the right time. That's interesting. He's the Minister of Defense. If you really check it, he's against the war in Lebanon. He's in charge of the military. Again, in the last couple of days, he's saying, we should act in Lebanon, because Netanyahu is trying to get rid of him on the ground that the defense minister is against war in Lebanon. Exactly. So the defense minister said, let's do war in Lebanon or something like that. But the real Gallant, the real defense minister, is against war in Lebanon. The troops are tired. 11 months. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, is built on short wars, 6-day war. They are fighting for nearly a year now. What's that? That's just, and the economy is not in a good place. But back to Netanyahu, yes, you're right. Netanyahu needs the war in order to survive politically.
Well, when we put all this together, I don't know what to say. I already expressed my view.
They will go to war. Ahron, they will go to war.
It's not. I agree with Ahron. It's very tempting. Netanyahu certainly wants it for self-preservation. It's extremely risky. For Israel owns safety. That's what makes the crazy part in all these things.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good. And I tell you, where is, I'm a former Israeli. I came from here. Where is the frustration? It is in the fact that the war could be stopped. In other words, if Netanyahu agreed, not only that the war with Hezbollah could be averted, not happen, if he stopped the war in Gaza. Not only that, the 100 hostages are likely to be released. So you have 100 people, many of them are dead by now, but 100 hostages in Gaza. They are in the tunnels. They could be released if you stop the war in Gaza. If you do a ceasefire, it is also likely to stop the war in Lebanon. So the frustrating thing for me and many others, is that you have a leader in Israel now who's interested in his political survival than in the future of Israel and the future of the hostages and trying to stop war. And that's amazing, unbelievable. You have one leader who is doing it to you. So this is the big frustration, that it could be stopped. If it cannot be stopped, if war is inevitable, okay, it's inevitable. But if there are avenues there, which are not taken, that's frustrating. And you know what's going to happen? If you are right, Alberto, and if there's going to be war, at the end of the war, the solution will be the solution which could be the current solution. It will be the same. In other words, what the American envoy is proposing now, we don't have to go into it, how to stop war in Lebanon. His solution is
what you suggested before, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
That had not arrived, I think, when you said that. Can you go over that?
Well,
Ahron said there is a very easy way to prevent Hezbollah from keep firing, and it is true.
Well, the American envoy, the Biden administration, says to the Israelis, to Netanyahu, you stop the war in Gaza, you have a ceasefire, you release the hostages. The implication of this is that Nasrallah stops firing at you, and then we negotiate how to push him back. What could we offer him, Nasrallah? You go back, and we will negotiate with you disagreements which are existed for many years now, about 13 points along the border. That's the plan. And you can have it now, and it will be exactly the same after a war in Lebanon. Nothing will be different. And therefore, that's a frustration. You know that it's going to be the same. You can save the lives of so many people, Israelis and Lebanese, but you don't take it. Terrible.
Ahron, I think the time is in favor of Hezbollah. The more the time goes by, the more Hezbollah gets stronger.
Yeah. The Iranian plan, big plan, which is working.
Is working.
Working well, yeah. Is to surround Israel with a ring of fire, as they call it, and have a war of attrition. In other words, not a one-off battle, but something which will go on and on and on, with the Houthis in Yemen, with Shia groups in Iraq and Syria firing from time to time, with Hezbollah firing from time to time. And that's exactly what Iran wants to have. By the way, we didn't say anything about this guy, Sinwar, the Hamas leader. He is the happiest man in the world. His plan, his original plan, is happening in front of our very eyes. He wanted everyone to open fire from all sides. That's exactly what's happening now. The Houthis are firing. The Shia in Iraq and Syria are sending rockets from time to time, and there might be a big war with Hezbollah. That's exactly what Sinwar wanted to have. So it might be, by the way, that he will be reluctant to have a ceasefire in Gaza. You see, it's more complicated sometimes.
May I add an element that I realized a few days ago, I kind of removed from my picture. We're removing Iraq. I would like to announce, in case people have forgotten, I'm sure Ahron knows, that now it's de facto approved an operational, the final, on request of the Iraqi government, the final withdrawal of about 3,000 special forces troops, US, in Iraq. It's due in 2 years, end of 26. Yeah. We'll see, because it depends how election goes. Here is my personal hypothesis for what I understand of Iraq now, after that crazy war and after all that happened. Within 3 years, Iraq is going to be into a civil war and become a piece of Iran. That's going to be the long-term gift of exporting democracy.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something that let me say it with a bit of emphasis, Ahron. Forgive me. People don't understand that wars of invasion have long-term consequences. And people don't understand that populations exist. They have millions of people. They reproduce. They have history and identity. You kill them some, and then wars come back. Please, sorry, but I have to say it with emphasis, because people seem to be perceiving wars in the Middle East as if it was a war game, with the console.
Exactly. You go into it, you think that it will be 48, 72 hours. It takes you 18 years.
Mission accomplished.
Exactly. Bush Jr. in May 2003 declared mission accomplished. Well, he didn't declare mission accomplished. There was a big, banner behind him, mission accomplished. But he was there, and the war went on from March 2003 to December 2011, and they're still American forces. So that's the problem with wars. That's why I'm so strongly against. I hope that it will not happen in Lebanon. You know how we start it. You never know how it ends. It can take many months. We invaded in June 1982, and Israel withdrew in May 2000. 18 years in Lebanon. 18 years. Yeah.
Still, if I was Israel, I would attack now and carve up a big chunk of Lebanon. I'm because Hezbollah is getting stronger by the day. Iran is getting stronger by the day. Now you have to do it now or never.
Look, Alberto. What you've just said, it's not what just Alberto says. There is a school of thought believing that this is the time to go to war in Israel.
Yeah.
It is probably stronger than the school of thought saying, do not go. I belong to the school of thought saying, do not go. Manage it, because of my lesson from the first Lebanon war. You never know what will happen to you. When Israel conducted the James Bond attack yesterday against Hezbollah, it was the 42nd anniversary of the Sabra and Shatila massacre in Lebanon. It caused so much damage to Israel. Of course, it was a tragic event, but it led to a political crisis in Israel. So you never know what will happen to you if you go to war. And as I said before, it is very likely that if Israel goes into Lebanon, it will create a so-called buffer zone there, like the buffer zone it had between 1985 and 2000 in Lebanon, and there will be guerrilla war. Hezbollah will conduct guerrilla war against Israel in the new security zone or buffer zone as they did between 1995 and 2000. Therefore, I'm very strongly against it, and I think that it could be averted. But I listen to you, and it's a school of thought. There are other people, who think that this is the right time. Again, before the winter, everyone is mobilized. There are no civilians around. You can do it. There will be 3,000 rockets landing on Israel for weeks every day. 3,000.
Are there people in Israel who think that Israel should settle the score with Iran as well, not just with Hezbollah?
Yeah, but it is complicated. They can't talk to them directly. You need the United States to do it. The fear when it comes to Iran is that they will become a nuclear. They will have the bomb very soon. I think that they are very close to it. Maybe they have it already. I said it, for a long time now. Maybe they have it. Just don't declare that they have it. Therefore, I think that, by the way, if there is a big war now, Iran will try to keep out. The first priority is that Israel / the United States do not bomb the nuclear facilities.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think they will be very tempted to do it now.
Yeah, it is tempting, of course, because if Iran got the bomb, it's a new story. It's a new chapter. It's very different. It's very different. So there are many temptations. You see, there is temptation to destroy Hamas. There is temptation to destroy Hezbollah. There is temptation to destroy Iran. You cannot destroy everyone, and therefore, going back to our previous debate, I always think that you should manage it politically, diplomatically, and leave war as a really last resort.
No, I understand, Ahron. No, I don't. Of course, nobody likes war. My reading of the situation is the people who set off the attack with the listening machines. I mean, that was deliberate. So they must have had a plan in mind.
You see, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. You see, your assumption, Alberto, is that the Israelis will not do something which is just tactical like that. Your assumption is that this is a part of a big plan. And what I'm saying, that maybe it is not. Maybe it is just being reckless. Yes. Maybe it is just doing it because the Hezbollah found out about it. Maybe it is not part of a big plan, but it might lead to war that Israel doesn't want. And in the future, we'll look back and say, oh, this was really stupid, this James Bond operation, because it led to war.
Yeah.
What I always say is that, it will be interesting, but very interesting, to watch our discussion in 10 years' time.
Yes.
Even
in 6 months' time, Ahron.
Yeah, look back, because the perspective of time, the perspective of history is so important. We are talking about something that's happening now. I'm looking at my, news, the news, what's happening now. We are talking about something which is unfolding, and we don't know. And therefore, it will be fascinating. You really have to remember, if we are still alive, I'm talking about the old among us, in 10 years' time, to remind each other to watch this conversation, to see how much of it actually happened and how much of it was just rubbish.
Yes.
Listen, guys, I must go. I really apologize because I
Thank
have a
you
No,
so
no,
much, Aaron. We
we
really
should.
I have,
enjoyed your insights. I mean, I
yeah.
think people, you'll be watched by many, many thousand people, because only online we have a couple thousand, but later
Wow.
so many more
Wow.
No,
will
right
be
now we have
watching you.
3,000. Right now we have 3,000 between your channel and.
But then it could be 20 or 30,000, no?
Well,
Michele?
Oh,
well,
easily. I mean, Aaron, I mean, there is
well,
English, there is a bit an obstacle,
yeah,
but
but I hope that in a few hours, or tomorrow, day after tomorrow, something happen which will show me as a very stupid expert academic. Because again, I think that there is an important lesson, which is be very careful when you talk about something which is unfolding, because you never know. You really, really never know. And it's really, really difficult to predict how things might develop, even in the near future. And again, what I'm saying, it will be fascinating to see how much we got it right in this conversation. But let's have another one in the near future.
Thank you,
Because
Aaron. Thank you very much. I really learned a lot. It was really fun talking to
my
you and
pleasure,
interesting.
and ciao to everyone.
Ciao, Aaron.
listen,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks also for changing your schedule to accommodate us, Aaron. Enjoy your dinner and thanks. Thank you.
Thanks so
Andiamo
much.
avanti un po'. Ciao, take
Ciao,
care.
Aaron. Bye bye.
Boh. Allora, beh, switchiamo un po' all'italiano. Abbiamo un po' tenuto un po' di persone. Insomma, tu senti, vediamo un attimo su questa roba, Alberto, un po' le posizioni. A te pare sensato che provochino la guerra?
No, per carità. A me sembra che mi sembra che il combinato di che sia un reckless move mi sembra strano, capito? Ossia, Netanyahu ha bisogno di guerra per sopravvivere. C'ha un istinto di sopravvivenza che lui mangerebbe sua madre, capito? In salamoia. Per cui
Salamoia non
dovrei,
è
eh?
non so se la salamoia è kosher, devo controllare.
Ah, non lo so neanche io.
Una volta sapevo tutte quelle
Mangerebbe.
cose lì perché, insomma, perché si mangiava assieme con me, però adesso non le ricordo più. No, che ci sia la possibilità, io sono d'accordo, anzi, è quello che mi pare la follia di tutto questo.
A me mi sembra così il contorno della situazione, mi sembra, faccio fatica a credere che sia reckless, faccio fatica a credere che Netanyahu sia disposto a fare senza guerra perché cade come un birillo subito. C'è c'è l'Iran che si sta rafforzando ogni giorno di più, questo rapporto molto, molto proficuo con Putin la sta rafforzando in modo importantissimo, anche sotto l'aspetto nucleare. Mi sembra che sia arrivato il momento di chiudere Gaza, aprire e chiudere Hezbollah Iran. No, l'azzardo
Allora,
così,
mi dicono che devi andare a vedere il Bologna, che quindi ti stiamo
No, no, ma
trattenendo.
no, ma no, ma no, non siamo qui e continuiamo a
No, no,
parlare.
Alberto, tranquillo. Questa è una
No,
discussione che
no,
dobbiamo
no.
fare. No, no, cioè possiamo farla tranquillamente, anche perché
No, no,
abbiamo
continuiamo a
tenuto.
parlare, Michele, continuiamo a parlare. Adesso, parliamo di cose molto importanti. Il Bologna è molto importante,
Eh.
però posso acciuffarlo dopo. Non ti
Cosa
preoccupare.
giocano? Cos'è campionato? Coppa? No, io
Coppa dei
non sai.
Campioni.
Ah, è vero, perché l'anno scorso abbiamo celebrato che siete
Eh,
entrati in Coppa
eh,
Campioni. Quindi questa
eh.
è la prima partita del
Di
girone,
Coppa
quello
dei
eliminato.
Campioni, sì.
Grande, grande, no, capisco, vabbè, dai, la vedi dopo. Ma il mio ragionamento è proprio strategico, ci pensavo a prima, no? C'è una logica nei fatti, e io credo da lungo tempo, che Netanyahu e il gruppo di persone che è diventato maggioritario in Israele, e tutto un pezzo di mondo, anche occidentale, pensi che la soluzione sia la grande guerra. Ora io qui ho due punti. Uno, non ho capito in che senso la grande guerra è una soluzione, perché la grande guerra vuol dire una distruzione immane dei paesi più deboli, quelli arabi, o anzi quelli musulmani, perché l'Iran non è arabo. E poi non lo so, una specie di nuovo impero militare israelo-americano nel Medio Oriente. Io non so come la Saudi Arabia, che anche oggi ha ripetuto ovviamente sempre le sue considerazioni, lo accetterà. Quella è una strategia tutto imperiale putiniana, nella quale io non mi associo, perché credo che scatenerebbe il resto. Sei molto preoccupato dalla Cina, ecco, se vuoi offrire alla Cina su un piatto d'argento tutto il Global South, non hai che da seguire quella strategia lì.
Ah, sì. No, ma io non è che sto parteggiando per la guerra, dico che i contorni della situazione mi fanno pensare che si arrivi alla guerra, capito? Non è che io patteggi per la guerra, capito? Che poi ci sono tanti elementi che non conosciamo neanche noi sulla guerra. C'è il fatto che per fare la guerra l'Iran ha bisogno della sponda, la sponda degli americani, che non avrà, a meno che Trump non viene eletto. E quindi
no, per il momento ce l'ha ancora, perché la politica estera
ancora.
non è che la cambi in un attimo, lo sai anche tu. Cioè, America in un certo senso è la vera responsabile, dopo l'Inghilterra, del grande casino medio orientale. Adesso fare una riflessione proprio storica. In un certo senso Israele poi ha acquisito negli anni autonomia, potenza economica, tecnologia e capacità militare, ma Israele è un po' un pawn, no? Un pedone di una strategia imperiale che era prima inglese, poi ha avuto una fase in cui Regno Unito, tra la fine della seconda guerra e gli anni 60, ha cercato, no? Ci ricordiamo Suez, di mantenere un ruolo lì, ha dovuto cedere alla realtà, non aveva più la capacità economico-militare di farlo, ed è subentrato agli Stati Uniti. Gli Stati Uniti hanno fatto proprio praticamente il punto di vista anglosassone, churchilliano, tra l'altro, quello che Lawrence of Arabia condannava. Quindi sì, anch'io convinto che ci sia un sentiero che porterà a una guerra piuttosto grave, piuttosto seria. Sono però convinto che da un lato, nel lunghissimo periodo, nel secolo, tutto questo danneggerà la popolazione israeliana e Israele, e credo che anche nel breve periodo danneggi mortalmente gli interessi europei e occidentali a livello globale, perché l'intero mondo guarda quello che succede lì. L'intero mondo ha una posizione un po' diversa dai bava alla bocca italiani, perché non sta seduto in una comoda poltrona a, come dire.
Ma no, ma lascia stare che anche l'opinione pubblica, credo che l'opinione pubblica italiana sia in maggioranza pro-arabi,
Ma no, credo che ci sia molta divisione,
No.
perché c'è l'elemento musulmano, capisci? Oggi c'è una forte paura dell'immigrazione musulmana, quindi questo fa gioco. Anche quello ovviamente è un cortocircuito mica da poco, no? Cioè, è anche vero. Cioè, tu hai tutti questi arrivi anche dalla Siria, dall'Afghanistan, dal Pakistan, da qui, da là, che non sono molto graditi, e sono purtroppo, come molti di sinistra dicono, hanno ragione, su quello ci poco da fare, perché su questo ci può dire. Cioè, molti di sinistra ti accusano, no? Di essere la causa della grande fuga da quelle zone, e in parte hanno ragione, è vero. Cioè, la grande fuga dalla Siria o dall'Iraq, quindi è un po' un casino, ed è per quello che io non sopporto questi atteggiamenti manichei di molti, è veramente un gran casino. Comunque anch'io sono convinto che probabilmente stanno cercando la guerra. Che ci riescano non lo so, però la stanno cercando, è palese. È palese. Ahron ovviamente ha una posizione che è diventata minoritaria in Israele, ma che è quella degli analisti internazionali. Cioè, devo dire che c'è molto poco.
Ma la cosa tragica è che la posizione di Ahron, per come sono le dinamiche demografiche in Israele, diventerà sempre più minoritaria, capito?
In Israele sì, sì, sì.
Sì, perché diciamo, i conservatori fanno molti più figli.
Sì,
Quindi
non solo, ma c'è proprio una dinamica anche di fatto, no? Di fatto.
di fatto.
Israele ha costruito, è vero, perché lui diceva, c'è un ring, quando lui dice l'Iran, nel senso degli ayatollah più estremi, stanno vincendo, ha ragione. Noi stiamo non frenando Israele e non frenando noi stessi, io adesso dico noi come americani, noi stiamo trasformando lentamente nei decenni il mondo arabo-musulmano in un mondo di folli estremisti che vogliono tutto. Stavo pensando appunto prima, cioè se tu guardi quel mondo negli anni 50, no? Hai Mossadegh in Iran, al tempo c'era, vabbè, poi è andato al potere poco dopo il partito Ba'ath, hai Nasser in Egitto, hai una serie di regimi che certo sono musulmani, eccetera, eccetera, ma sono fondamentalmente moderati, tant'è che le donne vanno via con le gonne, col viso scoperto, cioè, ci sono dei fenomeni di occidentalizzazione, no? Quindi sono al potere delle borghesie nazionaliste, per carità, non particolarmente amanti di Israele, per carità, però se la sono messa, hanno fatto la guerra sceneggiata nel 48 in 4, le hanno anche prese rapidamente, ma ci hanno messo pochi soldati, e se ne stanno facendo gli affari loro. Il progressivo massacrarli, non solo da parte di Israele, ma anche nostro, togliendogli legittimità e portando al fallimento dei tentativi di pseudo-democrazia popolare arabo-musulmana, negli anni ti produce sempre più estremismo e ti porta a potere Khomeini in Iran, ma io ci pensavo l'altro giorno discutendo proprio con due amici professori iraniani fuggiti, e loro dicevano, guarda, sai la cosa assurda? Il primo regime, quello di Khomeini, degli anni '80, era meno sanguinario, meno folle, meno intollerante, permetteva un minimo più di libertà alle donne di questi qua. Il continuo pressione li ha peggiorati, adesso è la follia, l'incubo, è una banda di criminali allucinanti, e questa è gente che ha 45, 50 anni, quindi è cresciuta lì, e invece quando io ero ragazzino, adolescente, le amiche, insomma, noi sì, sentivamo la pesantezza, ma non era così pesante. Uno guarda l'Afghanistan, i talibani di adesso sono peggio dei talebani del 2001. Cioè si sta costruendo una dinamica che credo sia quello che Ahron ha in mente, in cui a ogni come dire, lezione militare che l'Occidente, e non solo Israele, ma l'Occidente imparte a uno Stato musulmano arabo, poi alla fine, 10 anni dopo, ne esce un altro, un regime che è peggio del precedente. Io non so dove andiamo, io lo butto lì come riflessione.
Cioè, io credo che ci sarà una soluzione finale tra Israele e l'Iran, per cui io sono molto pessimista. Io qui ritorno, mi
Si
rifugio nel
tirano le
mio
atomiche.
pessimismo. Eh sì, io ritorno nel mio pessimismo cosmico, capito qui? Io ritorno nel mio pessimismo comico, credo che ci sarà una
Guardami.
soluzione. Ti guardo, ti guardo.
Aglia, bravaglia, fattura con uguaglia, corna,
No,
bagorna.
non ti do assolutamente torto, capito? Non ti do assolutamente torto. Io torno nel... Israele è diventato un problema enorme.
Ma è tutto un po' un problema, perché guarda, ecco, questa osservazione di questo signore ha ragione anche su questo, perché poi all'interno dell'opinione pubblica americana, italiana, che alla fine è quella qui noi possiamo avere un attimo di impatto piccolo, c'è ancora queste forme di dissezione, c'è un pezzo di destra che dice tutta colpa di quei fottuti americani, no? Che hanno, perché lì c'è la visione che gli americani sono Soros, sono di sinistra, sono Hillary Clinton, che hanno destabilizzato e quindi ci stanno portando la gente che viene da lì per la
Insomma,
sostituzione.
quello è un discorso super complesso, perché allora bisognerebbe parlare della lobby israeliana in America. Chi comanda veramente?
Occhio che ti becchi dell'antisemita anche tu, lasciamo stare, va, passiamo,
Sì.
non te lo faccio, non ti
Vabbè,
faccio
me lo
parlare.
beccherò, ma voglio dire,
Sono
io...
io quello tu fai
No, beh, Steven Walt è un professore di Harvard Kennedy School che io adoro. E
Ah, lo
Meyer,
conosco.
io adoro Steven Walt, sì. E io
Ah,
adoro,
mai
lo
conosciuto.
conosco bene, ho incontrato solo una volta Meyer che mi sembra molto, molto
Oddio,
sul
un po'
pezzo.
invecchiato,
I due
però
hanno scritto,
a
un
suo
libro che è una
tempo,
pietra. I due hanno scritto un libro che è una pietra miliare, The Israel
sì, lo
Lobby in the
conosco.
United States. E lì non c'è pezza, non scappi, capito? Gli israeliani hanno in mano almeno i 4/5 del congresso americano.
No, beh, loro secondo me lì hanno visto un lato, che è un lato serio, loro hanno una certa visione, tra l'altro è interessante i due assieme, no? Perché sono due imperialisti alla fine, ma in modo diverso, ma Schmeier molto di più di Walt. Credo che ci sia una forte influenza ovviamente della lobby israeliana, non credo che sia così totale. Io vedo di più, però adesso qui andiamo anche, cioè bisognerebbe che documentassimo la cosa. Il mio studiare quella zona è che la vera influenza è arrivata dagli UK. UK ha trasmesso al Dipartimento di Stato, letteralmente alla cultura del Dipartimento di Stato del Pentagono, una visione imperiale dei rapporti con... Io invito tutti quanti a leggere, leggetelo, davvero leggetelo. È un bellissimo libro ed è tradotto anche in italiano, ok? I Seven, quello di Lawrence of Arabia, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, credo che sia tradotto in italiano in 7 colonne o colonne
Della saggezza.
della saggezza, perché la sua storia, come dire, romanzata, lo scrive secondo me bene in inglese, di come lui percepisce il gran casino che è lì e cosa ha significato la caduta dell'impero ottomano, che era lì da 4 secoli, per quelle tribù, quella gente, e come si siano sentiti traditi di fatto dall'Occidente che poi li ha la, e credo che quella roba lì abbia molto influenzato la politica. Non credo che sia solo Israele. Cioè, su questo, ecco, su questo sono più moderato io, nel senso che vedo il componente israeliana e la vedo tantissimo negli ultimi 20 anni. Però, insomma, cioè, vabbè, adesso andiamo, diventa complicato. Però comunque tu la vedi brutta, ma io sai, sono d'accordo con te, ma bisognerebbe provare, qualcuno deve provare a evitarlo, perché la ricaduta, pensa se usano l'atomica.
Ma prima o poi è inevitabile, prima o poi succede. Circondati così come sono gli israeliani, prima o poi la tentazione viene di dare una lezione. Vedi come sono sempre avanti agli altri. Tirano sempre fuori un coniglio del cappello. Il prossimo coniglio sarà nucleare.
Beh, loro ce l'hanno il nucleare, l'hanno anche reso
Sì, sì,
molto chiaro da
ma
lungo.
sarà come forma di applicazione, capito?
No, beh, io mi auguro per loro che no, perché per carità si può vivere da Sparta anche per un secolo, ma una Israele che utilizzasse il nucleare porrebbe se stessa in una condizione storica eterna. Il mondo ancora rimprovera agli americani Hiroshima e Nagasaki e venne allora con la condizione di allora, con la guerra di allora, eccetera, eccetera. No, no, subito, cioè cioè sarebbe un atto neanche di terrorismo, di follia suicida di dimensioni, non ha senso.
Useranno il nucleare
Israele
per
che
neutralizzare.
l'altro aspetto dell'attacco di ieri, cioè quando fai una cosa, poi è free for all. Israele che usa il nucleare è un'autorizzazione alla Russia di usare il nucleare tattico.
Sai cosa
Esattamente
gliene
come...
frega a Israele di quello? A Israele di quello non gliene frega niente.
Vabbè, possono avere anche una visione religiosa, come dire, millenaristica, alla fine dei tempi, quello che sarà, che poi tra l'altro nella loro cultura non è neanche tanto importante. No, non ci credo. a quella mi rifiuto di credere. Credo che il giochetto sia proprio invece l'opposto. Adesso è quello che dice Ahron. Da un lato, finché sto in guerra, finché mantengo la guerra, io sto al potere. Netanyahu, come hai detto tu, una figura porca di dimensioni epocali. Lui è la sua cricca, per cui cazzo gliene frega, lui si ammazza gente, distrugge Israele, cioè, finché sta al potere.
Ma poi c'è ancora quella famosa azione legale in piedi della corruzione, per cui non è mica, non si è mica mai spenta quello.
Sì, no, quella lì è lì. Quella lì
Quindi è una roba, deve correre.
Sì, questo lo so, e per quello sono d'accordo, che per quello ho qualificato l'attacco di ieri.
Pensa che Netanyahu incominciò lavorando per BCG.
Sì, lo
sapevi?
So, era tuo compagno di studi, no?
Sì, no, lui ha fatto la Sloan School, ha fatto l'MIT.
Era MIT, non Harvard.
Penso aveva fatto l'MIT, quasi sicuro.
È un po' più giovane di noi, sì, per cui l'avrà un po' dopo, però sì. Mi
Era
ricordo che era
compagno di studi a BCG con Mitt Romney.
Ah sì? Vabbè. Comunque, vabbè, credo che abbiamo chiarito le nostre preoccupazioni, e quello che posso dire a chi ci ascolta: continuate ad aderire al movimento, perché questo è un movimento dove si fanno questi dibattiti. E quelli che oggi sono venuti a aggredirmi dicendo io sono iscritto ma non discuto con te, dico: ma senti, per me puoi continuare anche a rimanere iscritto, per carità, però dioli un po' lo spirito che non si discute. Poi quando ci sarà un partito si voterà e la gente sceglierà la linea e dirà: la maggioranza ha detto che è questo o quello. Però noi si discute, perché siamo qua per questo. Siamo un po' siamo a ragione a discutere, e poi anche perché siamo gente che cambia idea davanti ai fatti. Non è che io ho cambiato
poi
idea.
è difficile prendere posizione su Israele. È quasi una di quelle situazioni in cui dice: ragazzi, votate con coscienza, capito? È difficile prendere una posizione su Israele e gli arabi, capito? È una situazione incredibile, ma perché Israele d'altro canto è un paese che esprime tanta simpatia, no? Ha fatto tutta l'innovazione che sono stati capaci di fare. Questo paese circondato da nemici, che è riuscito a diventare una democrazia ad alta tecnologia, piena di unicorni. Mi dicono, io non ci sono mai stato, mi dicono che le città israeliane sono piene di vita. Cioè,
Tel Aviv è un posto che solo la Rio degli anni buoni è meglio.
Sì, hai capito? Non
E
è
forse
che...
neanche. E forse neanche.
Quindi è una cosa, io ho sempre avuto, quando ero bambino avevo grande simpatia, poi negli anni ho assunto un atteggiamento più fatalista, però tifavo Israele durante la guerra dei 6 giorni, avevo 12 anni, puoi immaginare, leggevo i giornali tutti i giorni, l'ho seguita con grande passione.
Stessissima esperienza.
Hai capito? Sì, quindi,
E poi quella
e
guerra
poi
dei
negli
6 giorni è
anni...
stato l'inizio della seconda fase di errori, perché forse, vabbè, loro hanno detto era preventiva, però la storia mi ha insegnato che appunto tifavo, ma anch'io tifavo Israele tranquillamente. Un po' stesso itinerario tu.
E poi negli anni, capito? Negli anni mi sono un po' logorato, però non sono io, non sei neanche tu, certamente antisemiti, capito? Cioè, gli ebrei suscitano grande ammirazione dovunque si vadano, fanno sempre cose straordinarie.
Fabrizio, queste cose non si scrivono, perché se io le faccio vedere come le ho appena fatte vedere, non solo Alberto tira fuori, si sente, mi manda Ortega, però anche la gente dice siete due volgaroni, quindi fate i bravi, ho capito, non induceteci in tentazione.
No, io non sopporto tutti quelli che ti danno dell'antisemita. Solo cercare di ragionare su questo argomento porta, capito? C'è un sacco di gente che sui social ti dà dell'antisemita. Io non ho
Sì, ma
capito
tra l'altro
perché.
quelli sono molto attivi, sono una minoranza
È
abbastanza
una
risibile.
minoranza quella lì, sì, una
Minoranza
minoranza.
risibile, pericolosa, dannosa, fatta di persone tristi o che hanno carico. Ecco, a quelli sì, devo dire francamente, guardate, per carità, io sono anche capacissimo di prendere cappello e bastone e salutare, non è che mi arrabbio, ma io non me la sento di stare in un qualsiasi associazione, movimento, partito, ma neanche in una cena in cui si ragiona sui fatti del mondo con l'intestino, con l'odio, con le affermazioni false, con la brutalità, con la semplificazione. Se c'è una cosa che abbiamo fatto con i Drin Drin, che alla fine li ha creati Alberto 7 anni fa, era perché lui era curioso di certe robe di economia e io volevo imparare da lui la sua esperienza cinese. Il movimento si crea anche su questo, sul fatto che la serietà politica è figlia anche della serietà analitica e della capacità di operare col bisturi, altrimenti è inutile prendere in giro Alberto o me perché si fa il filmetto con la sega, no? Con la sega elettrica, che è fatto per scherzare, per dare l'idea e poi fare la politica estera con la sega elettrica. La politica estera con la sega elettrica non è esattamente... Io mi sento di lanciare un invito. Chi vuole fare politica estera con la sega elettrica, con gli odi, col distruggerli tutti, di un lato o dell'altro, di un lato o dell'altro, con distruggerla, lasci stare, non è l'associazione Drin Drin quella sua. Chi invece vuole ragionare e far cambiare idea con i fatti va benissimo, però si ragiona, cioè, anche perché sono questioni serie. Appunto Alberto dice che lui è fatalista. Da parte il movimento se l'ha inventato quel giorno perché ha detto no al suo fatalismo. Tu sei proprio un tipo da quel punto di vista lì, cioè se vedi i fatalisti poi reagisci.
Poi reagisco, sì, sì.
No, perché se ci penso a quella conversazione quel giorno era l'Alberto fatalista, che poi a un certo punto gira e dice no, aspetta.
No, spero di aver torto, che più dico delle cose, poi mi auguro che qualcuno mi convinca che ho torto. Però a volte mi vengo preso da queste... dalla non si risolve quel maledetto problema in Medio Oriente, capito? La Palestina non può mai diventare uno stato, ci sono ormai 600.000 coloni sparsi per tutta la roba, allora al limite annettilo, no? Però non si può neanche annettere perché altrimenti gli arabi vanno in maggioranza.
Beh sì, questa è l'osservazione che hai fatto
Sì,
tu anche
allora
quando
almeno
abbiamo parlato.
annettilo e dagli la cittadinanza israeliana e falli votare, ma non è possibile annetterli, non ne parlano gli israeliani perché annetterli vuol dire quasi avere gli arabi in maggioranza o con un forte potere cioè, per cui deve rimanere sempre quel carnaio che è, capito? E allora questa cosa mi fa un po' incazzare a me, perdonami, ma...
Sì, sì, no, ripeto. Comunque, noi su questo, io quello che volevo dire adesso siamo andati un po' lungo per un'ora e mezza, però credo che sia tutto. Ecco, il livello di analisi a cui io mi auguro.
Bravo Ahron, voglio vedere un canale televisivo che dà un'introspezione così importante della situazione. Sfido qualunque canale.
Sì, io spero che appunto il livello del dibattito che si faccia nella futura associazione sia, non dico nel sofisticato inglese del professor Bregman, però insomma a quel livello lì e che si sia disposti ad ascoltare persone di quel tipo. Altrimenti se si finisce a che bello farli fuori tutti perché i terroristi vanno terrorizzati, francamente.
Ma è impossibile, hai visto che non sono riusciti a battere neanche Hamas, capito? Alla fine con Hamas non ce l'hanno fatta vincere, capito?
Ma come gli si era detto, ma Alberto, di nuovo, non vinci contro un popolo intero se non lo fai fuori, neanche i nazisti alla fine sono riusciti a vincere
Ma
contro...
esatto.
Cioè, Crista Madonna, come vogliamo... Cioè, questa roba che siccome io mi sento meglio, ho ragione, che poi lì appunto la discussione storica su chi ha ragione e chi ha torto sull'inizio di quella cosa è un tal casino che è meglio astenersi. Ma indipendentemente da chi ha ragione e chi ha torto, se tu pensi che il problema lo risolvi facendo fuori un popolo, sei matto. Non solo sei criminale perché cerchi di far fuori il popolo, ma sei matto, nel senso che non funziona, ti si ritorce contro. Non so come altro metterla, no? Ah, grazie Maria Gemma. Maria Gemma ha detto che dismessa la sega siamo simpatici.
Detto da un'ascoltatrice finalmente, che ne ha già così
Oh, no, per
poche.
quello l'ho messo. Per quello l'ho messo. Per quello l'ho messo. Buon
Ciao
Bologna,
Michele,
buona serata a
grazie.
tutti, ci si vede presto, ok?
Ciao, ciao.
E mi raccomando è che oggi c'è stato ragionevole, però insomma continuate a associarvi che dobbiamo raggiungere l'obiettivo. Un bacio.
Ciao Michele, ciao,
Ciao.
grazie, ciao.
Ciao.